Afghanistan women's national team soccer jersey signed by all the players that were then imprisoned and threatened to be killed once they came back to the country. I don't know. Is everybody like that? I have ideas every 5 seconds. When I was just a kid being creative, I would write stories, poems, record my voice, have a pretend radio show. I would make movies. I would work after school. When I'd go home, that's where the real work happened. I was like, wow. And that blew my mind. I was like, I couldn't believe I could see my name on a screen. Ringleaders is going to be in the new EAFC. Frostbite Cup is going to be in the game. We're going to have our uniform and stuff. Yeah, man. My inspiration comes from anywhere. It could be like a fashion designer to a professional wrestler. It doesn't matter. We can go many ways now. I used to play soccer and I was miserable. It's a miracle that you could play soccer. That was really good how you came up with that. I'm very happy.
Okay.
Can I use it? Yeah?
Of course.
All right, let's go.
Of course.
I still dream like a kid.
Angelo, thanks for coming. I'm very grateful. I know how passionate you are about everything you do, and I am so ready to have a conversation with you. I saw that when you were young, you were passing paper pamphlets on the streets, promoting hip-hop shows, and you started in retail industry at age 16. Mm-hmm. So I kind of want to just talk about the journey and the start for you.
So you just opened a vault of memories with that whole passing out flyers thing. You know, I kind of still am passing out flyers because I really loved being on the block and having a limited amount of time, limited amount of flyers to pass out and to try to hopefully get the most people in that venue possible, right? On St. Catherine, when people are zipping by you, you have to be very sharp and analyze a person extremely fast. Like, is this person actually gonna go to the show, you know? And so you got to scan them top to bottom, what footwear they're wearing, and try to analyze their energy. Do they listen to hip hop, you know? So I was blessed enough to do it when I was very young. And if we connect the dots with the retail, when I had a chance to become a buyer, it was the same chemistry. It was like when you go to a showroom or a trade show, there's so many people, so much energy, so much stimulation. For you to actually find a good piece or a good brand, you have to be very sharp. So I think I kind of got my training through passing out flyers.
Cool. I definitely want to touch on, it probably is a skill in itself, being able to identify people who are interested in your pamphlet or what you're doing, right? So how do you tell if someone is interested in hip hop in a matter of seconds?
I think there's energy. I think there's eye contact, and obviously the look of a person, how they're wearing their stuff, what brands are they wearing, especially with footwear. Instagram, let's say for instance, when you follow someone or someone follows you, you look at the profile. It's kind of the same science again. It takes just a couple of seconds to figure out this person could be my friend, or this person has good ideas. This person can inspire me. It happens very quickly, but it's just, I guess, an analysis of some sort. But, I feel like it all flows together. Yeah.
So it's kind of like you either get it or you don't.
Maybe.
Or it comes to that point because you have been, I guess, analyzing people, and that continuous practice has just gotten better, kind of thing.
And I also think it's like a scouting system. Like, let's say for ringleaders, there's a scouting process as well, and most of it happens sometimes on Instagram, and you could see someone that has potential. Maybe they don't get it on the moment right there, but you can see an evolution in a person's self-expression, behavior, self-confidence. We're all branding ourselves, right? You're working on a personal brand as well. We are, I believe, born in that system now. I see children are doing it too. They're conscious of how they're putting themselves out there. So I think maybe with my experience, seeing the potential in someone or a brand or a company or a business of sort, I think I think it helps a lot today to have that experience, you know?
Gotcha. So Ringleaders was founded in 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the idea kind of came in 2005, if I'm not mistaken, right? So that's a long time.
It's a long time.
It is a long time. How is Ringleaders different than what it was in 2005? So what I'm trying to get towards is, you know, you probably had this idea, a draft of what you wanted Ringleaders to be, right? Is it the same concept that there was in the draft?
Yeah. Funny enough, I found a draft from probably 2003. I was already working on a concept along the line of Ringleaders without having the name yet. Inspired by fashion and streetwear and skateboarding and art, especially art. And perhaps when I did launch, it was maybe a little premature. I needed to know more about branding. I needed to understand more about that line of work. Ringleaders was a very progressive, you know, almost like a little baby, because the first logo I had is not the logo you have right now on your jersey.
Right.
It didn't have the snowflake on it. The snowflake came about 2 years after I launched Ringleaders. And wow, we can go many ways now.
I mean, the floor is yours.
Yeah. I think so. Ultimately, what really helped was going to New York. And around 2006, I believe, after my first collection of t-shirts was out. It was funny. I had 4 t-shirts, all done by artists, and a CD, a music CD, which I had recorded some of my vocals in there. It's funny. And I still have some. But I had seen Chinatown Soccer Club, shout out to the crew. Love you guys. Saw Chinatown on a blog called Slam by Hype. And the spirit there, when I saw the photography and just like the joie de vivre, you know, I was like, wow, this is what I'm talking about. And I was going on a business trip to New York, and I emailed them, and I was like, my hotel is like right around the corner from where you guys are playing. I introduced myself. I have a t-shirt brand. They were like, come and play, you know? And then that's when I realized after that session that the whole crew there were all artists, designers, producers, some guys that worked at Supreme, you know? And the vibes were very lovely. There was not much, it wasn't very competitive. It wasn't aggressive, you know? And that I was like, wow, this is like definitely what inspired me to reformat a bit the whole concept and, you know, go further into my vision and to not try to, because validation is like a big thing, right? I think when I first did RFC, I was looking for some validation, maybe going against the nature of what I really wanted inside of my heart. But after that experience with CSC, getting the cosign by CSC, getting that confidence up and being like, you know what, we're from Canada and soccer needs a voice. And I know it snows here, but you know what? We're going to play on snow and show the whole world how much we really love it. And I met my designer, Jeremy, where he was coming from Marseille to work in Montreal. And he was like, I love Ringleaders. I love the name, but we got to rework the logo, you know? And at that point, I had brought him a soccer ball that had the logo of like rain, sunshine, you know, the weatherproof story on a soccer ball that says you can play on any surface. Okay. And I brought that to him. And I was like, I'm thinking of a logo like this because I want to create events. I want to create events on every surface. You know, I was even, while I was working on Frostbite Cup, I was working on Midnight Cup.
Right.
Except I only did Midnight Cup probably 12 years later. But the idea was there to set up a cage and a rave, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So to go back to Frostbite, and so I think Jeremy absorbed that, and he was like, came back with that snowflake and said, we will simplify the idea. And, you know, the day we go to Africa, people will know you came from very far. And that really has been the inspiration and logo ever since, you know?
I guess I'm in a way summing up. You want to show the world what us Canadians or North America soccer is all about,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the snowflake kind of showcases that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go to Africa, they know what snowflake is,
Mm-hmm.
and on a soccer jersey, probably can put both of them together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was really to, again, there's so many facets to this, but in retail, when I was learning more about streetwear and sneaker culture and then high-end fashion, how I connected to that was reading and watching documentaries on casuals, you know, the 70s and 80s kind of terrace culture in England, you know, around in the UK. And those firms or those crews, they used to wear brands as dress codes to identify themselves, because you couldn't wear a Chelsea jersey out on the street, because if a Liverpool fan would see you, you'd have trouble.
Indeed.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So because they would travel, go to Europe for European soccer matches, go to Italy. They used to love going to Italy because that's where all the cool stuff was. They'd come back with new brands and wear, you know, Stone Island, for example, or CP Company, or, you know.
Yeah.
And so Ringleaders was born out of that interest I had at that time, trying to understand branding, fashion, and all that. So the snowflake obviously came a little bit after, but the original idea was to create a kind of a streetwear fashion brand inspired by those movements. It's interesting how soccer, tennis, all these, you know, all these Lacoste, Fila, you know, all these brands that would just kind of end up around a soccer stadium was born out of that idea to be different. And so if I connect the dots, when I was a teenager coming up through high school, again, I was obsessed with, like, I want to show that I love soccer. We used to wear, the soccer players, the few, we used to wear indoor soccer shoes at school.
Yeah.
With our denim, or, you know,
Indeed.
to show that this is our expression. We love soccer. This is what we do, you know?
Yeah.
So kind of to merge all the whole concept together, kind of Ringleaders came out of that, you know? Soccer, I think, for me, because we were speaking about competition before, right?
Right. Yeah.
I don't like the competitive side. I don't even consider soccer a sport, okay? And I consider it more like, so I don't, you know, Buddhism,
Indeed.
I have read, is that some people consider it to be not a religion, but a way of life. And for me, I see soccer the same. It's a way of life.
Way of life.
Okay? So it's for, like, you know, when I've said, you know, when I read my first book about soccer, my first book was about Pelé, right?
Gotcha.
I think when I started reading, I was like, I need to read about Pelé. And just reading about Brazil, I was like, okay, this is heaven on earth, you know?
Yeah.
It's all day, every day, 24 hours a day, unconditional love.
Right.
And that's what it is to me personally, you know?
Indeed. Because something I found out is you actually watch lower league
Mm-hmm.
football,
Mm-hmm.
soccer,
Mm-hmm.
rather than like commercial soccer, which I guess would be Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that perspective. And that's like, honestly, that's where I see the real competitiveness is, because that competitiveness comes from heart rather than commercial and the brands. Yeah. I hope I'm making some sort of sense.
It is making sense. They're competing for a dream.
Indeed. Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
To make their sponsor happy.
Indeed.
You know, when sponsors are never happy, maybe.
Yeah.
They always want more.
But what I was trying to get across is I do want to see a culture behind soccer Because honestly speaking, in Saskatchewan, when I had moved, soccer was like a woman sport. And in Pakistan, soccer was huge.
Okay.
So that was a huge cultural shock to me. So it'd be cool to sort of bring it a little more mainstream so it's more accessible as well.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about soccer being in the World Cup itself in 26? Yeah,
26.
in North America.
You know, I watched 1994 World Cup very closely. I actually still have a lot of recorded games on VHS that
so
I've watched. So at that time, there was no soccer on TV. There was no soccer. I had recorded those games and I would watch them over and over and over to learn things. Some games I know by heart, which is funny. And I think over the years, it has evolved very fast. Like where we are at today, like you said, when you went to Saskatchewan, it was considered a women's sport.
Indeed.
It's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
It is.
Thankfully.
There's real ballers out there. There's a lot going on all over Canada, you know,
Yeah.
and North America, you know. There's turf soccer fields everywhere. There's stadiums. There's professional leagues, you know, NWSL, MLS, CPL, right?
Right.
It has grown a lot. It has exploded in the last 2 decades. It's fascinating to see, which, like I said, just a couple of years before that, all you had was 1994 on TV, World Cup, and that was it, right? And I also think, like, we can talk about it later, but I think video games helped a lot too.
Yeah, FIFA.
I think EA Sports really helped a lot. But all that to say, I think the evolution is it's remarkable where it is right now, where it's going. I think 2026 World Cup will be amazing in the sense that everybody's going to live it in their communities in real life, because we do live it. Every time there's a Euro or a World Cup or anything, you're going to go to your local spot in your city where, you know, there's a lot of like Argentinians or Brazilians or,
Yeah.
and you can go, you can like have a World Cup in your own city.
You can.
You
Yeah.
can really do it. There's a bar or a venue for every game to watch, you know? And I have lived some of those moments. I once watched the African Nations Cup final in Petit Maghreb, which is more like Algerian kind of based. It was crazy. It was amazing.
In Montreal?
Yeah. Like Montreal North, you know?
Oh, wow.
And there was flares everywhere. There was like, I don't know, thousands of people on the street. It was amazing. And I'm like, wow, you don't really have to travel to go. Well, maybe we're lucky in Montreal, perhaps.
That is true.
So you can have your own little World Cup wherever you go. That's kind of how I feel. But I guess now that there's going to be a tournament in 2026, I'm curious. I'm curious to see how that's going to go, but I think it's going to go well.
Me assuming, because honestly speaking, you're more about the game. Like for you, soccer is a way of life, right? That's how people see religion as. You want to see that raw, authentic soccer rather than mainstream soccer. Am I correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm okay with the whole mainstream side of things. I guess there comes a time when you realize, when you have more experience in your life, it is a business at the end of the day, right? So there's many facets to it. You could be a fan of a club, be a ultras, you know, and be like hardcore, and that's okay. You could be a casual fan that just likes to go once in a while, and that's okay. But I do think that the way maybe certain athletes get treated by the business is not human sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I've had experiences growing up where, you know, like I'm sure pretty much yourself or maybe your father wanted you to be a pro.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right?
he did. Yeah.
So everybody has that dream of a pro, and I get that, but it is not for everyone. Mentally, you have to be very, very consistent and stable to actually achieve that dream, right?
Yeah.
You got to want to practice every day, and maybe some people don't like to practice every day, you know? Depends how much you want it. Talent is not enough sometimes. But yeah, I think like just going back to it, being a pro is not for everyone, and maybe it takes away the fun. Like, just looking at ringleaders, some of the members in the crew kind of have a story similar to mine. They loved it at 15, 16. They were dreaming. They were doing well. They felt they could maybe make it, and then perhaps a coach benched you for no reason at a critical age, like 16.
Yeah.
And that breaks your heart, because nobody's there to explain to you why you're, being benched or whatever. Or maybe an injury might take you out.
Indeed.
A knee injury could take you out.
I had a knee injury.
See, there you go. And that's hard to bounce back from at that age, right? Because you think all your opportunities are gone, which is not true, right? But at that age, you don't see it that way. And so I think my objective, let's say if we go towards like this...
Mainstream
versus... I don't know what do you call our ringleaders type clubs? What do you call them? Artist-based clubs or
that's a philosophy.
Ringleaders is a philosophy. Yeah.
But I think it would be like because it's not a t-shirt brand. I would say exclusive soccer club, maybe.
Exclusive.
A little bit of both, because I do want to get into.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So maybe this is your interview right here at the. I don't know, but I think. For me, it brings me more joy to have a ringleader tell me years after they joined, this is the best thing in the world. I can't believe I'm a part of this, because I used to play soccer and I was miserable.
Yeah.
And that breaks my heart. Like, you should not be miserable playing soccer. You should be lucky that you have your legs are mobile, you have all your fingers and toes, like you're healthy. It's a miracle that you could play soccer. Why would we be miserable about it, right? So anyhow,
yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
No, for sure. I mean, so what I meant by exclusive soccer club to an average Joe, because they probably wouldn't understand the idea of philosophy. You know what I'm saying? Unless they sit down or they listen to the interview or they read some blog posts. Would you say I am right in a way?
Yeah, sadly it is not. I think it's not for everyone. Like, there are some people that are very, very, very competitive, and they want to try to be as competitive as they can, and you're not going to get fulfilled, like, let's say at a club like ours, which is like community based and friendships and those kind of things.
Artistic
too. Yeah, so I guess what attracted me to music and culture, downtown culture, like, you can go out on Crescent Street, right?
Yeah.
Or you can go somewhere more, underground and the sound is better, and then you end up in a club that you've never heard about because a friend brought you in, and you're like, wow, this is amazing, And these are experiences that I've lived as a teenager, and perhaps I carry those over in ringleaders. Ringleaders is like, it's my art, or sometimes I say, well, maybe today I say it's bigger than me because I think it has become bigger than me. Sometimes I'm just like, it's just, I'm the medium that it comes from, But I want you to appreciate it, like when I came in your place, I was like, I want to take off my shoes, like I'm being welcomed in your home. It's the same thing. When someone has the privilege of being an RFC, there comes a respect, with it, right?
From a, I hope I didn't cut you off.
No.
From a marketing point of view, I think almost a lot of things, at least, should show exclusivity from the outside and inclusivity from inside. And I think I sort of got that from ringleaders. Hey,
that was really good how you came up with that. I'm very happy.
Okay.
Can I use it? Yeah?
Of course.
All right, let's go.
Of course. Absolutely. Okay, so ringleaders, right? There's so many soccer clubs. There's so much to untap from ringleaders, because I do want to talk about Angelo World Soccer Shop too, and there's a couple other things, but I'll try
my
to
solo projects.
yeah, I'll try to sum this one up as fast as I can. But there's so many other soccer clubs, and or even creative soccer clubs. But like with ringleaders, it's a soccer experience. And how I see that is the Frostbite Cup. Who is doing Frostbite Cup that we can really think of? You know, Midnight Cup with all the DJs and all. On SoundCloud, there's like a whole culture of music. And then
it's like our podcasts and mixtapes.
Exactly. So it's a whole experience rather than you just go and play pickup. That's my assumption from an outsider perspective.
Yeah. The North Star a little bit on that front is like the dreaminess, like dreaming.
Yeah.
Dreaming is a big part of RFC. And when we did the first Frostbite Cup, which was up on the mountain near the old hospital, right? I think that field was called the Reservoir back in the day. The night, I can't believe I persuade people to play soccer on snow, right? We were about, 15. And the night before, I had anxiety. I couldn't sleep. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, what?
Yeah.
I can't, this is not happening. Like, this is crazy. Like, I'm canceling, right? And I messaged some of the members. And in the morning, I was like, yeah, it might not happen. They're like, what are you talking about? We're so excited.
Exactly.
And so I have told this to the crew before, but because there's a lot of respect, and they're like, Ange, you know, you have good ideas and this and that, but I'm like, but you're the crazy ones that like say yes.
Exactly.
So who's more crazy here, me or you?
I read that.
You know?
I read that.
So the dreamy part is a big part of it, but then again, the experience, and I think that all comes from just me when I was much younger and playing and creating, and I had my imagination. I would never cap my imagination because I own it. I could do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So I could imagine as much as I want, right? And so once opportunities of being a creative director or branding or adding like something to a project, I would approach it like a child would, you know, and I still do to this day. I still dream like a kid, and that is also part of the philosophy and the way of life, you know, the way we do things. When I look at someone and I feel someone's energy, because RFC is like a puzzle of people, and I'm like, is this piece gonna fit in the puzzle?
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's really important. And when I was like a buyer, or when I create collections, or I like contrast fashion, you know, I like a contrast of fabrics, contrast of materials or colors. That's how I like to dress or put an outfit together. And so I approach putting the team together in that same sense. I do like contrast. I like, some people are quiet, some people are more loud, some people are funny, some people are more spiritual or philosophical, or, you know, and it makes like such a unique recipe. It's like cooking in the kitchen. It's the same thing, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Instead of just salt and pepper.
Exactly. Yeah.
But Angelo's Worldwide Soccer Shop, right? There's two things
coming soon.
There's two things I do want to talk about. You said it's your first step into the unknown. What does that mean? So,
you know, being in retail for 2 decades, right?
20 years.
Yeah. And then starting Ringleaders as a community, as a brand for going on, you know, almost 2 decades now. How it happened was when I made my move out of retail and I wanted to focus on Ringleaders brand. At that point, until that moment, Ringleaders was a community, a brand, but also my solo project. And sometimes too much of Angelo would be integrated in Ringleaders, which would sometimes bring it in another area that was a little too personal. Okay. So the exercise I did, and I think everyone should do this exercise a year later, almost 2, is there's a yin and yang. So I kind of split, you know, okay, this is Ringleaders and this is Angelo's, right? So now when I have ideas, there's no mixing anymore because I need to express myself. When I have a cool idea about ringleaders, I'm like, oh yeah, that fits the brand or what we do, our marketing. But then when I have some other ideas that are maybe a little too out there, I'm like, that's personal. And when it comes to personal, it's the unknown, because at the end of the day, you can't, it's me. I'm becoming me. I'm doing me, you know? So I do have artists that I inspire from. My inspiration comes from anywhere. It could be like a fashion designer to a professional wrestler. It doesn't matter. You know, I get inspired anywhere about anything. But my funnest exercise has been this Angelo soccer shop thing that I'm doing. And I wanted to tell stories, personal stories through product, right?
Personal stories through product.
That's why I talk about my little jerseys or my footwear or who gave it to me. Because most of the things I didn't purchase, most of them were given to me as gifts, you know, from friends that traveled and, oh, I thought about you. Because somehow people see soccer and they think about me, which I like that.
I mean,
it makes me happy.
Well, look what you have done for the community.
Well, you know, and I want to do more. I feel like I haven't done anything. You know, I feel like I just like to give back. So maybe giving back is never enough. So I like to give back. And so Angelo's is developing. It's one of my funnest projects solo projects I've ever got involved with. And I'm getting a lot of support from like friends, family, talent around me. So it's really cool. And soon I can't really talk about it today, but I got some stuff coming that'll be pretty cool. Amazing. Yeah. I'm really excited. And again, like I said, it's helping me on a psychological level, how to delegate my ideas out of my system and not bother my universes, you know, my little worlds.
Is this your rodeo on a personal brand sort of thing?
I believe so, yeah. I believe so. It was inside of me, and I've always had like one thing that I can't, again, blessed, can't complain about, but my instinct that you know, that maybe that little voice inside of you, I've always had a clear communication with that part of myself.
God.
Since I could remember, since I have memories from the age of 4.
Yeah.
And I have that relationship is my most like precious relationship, you know? And so I always, and you know, like even again, as an example, being a buyer, going to a showroom or seeing a collection, there's a special moment looking at a certain piece and saying, this is dope, this is going to work. Yeah. I think people are going to like this, you know? And I still feel the same in anything I do, you know? It's still there.
Okay. And every soul has a price. I've seen this everywhere. And I love it. Yeah. But I need to know more.
So that actually, I kind of tweaked it. That belongs to $1 Million Man.
Yeah, I saw that too.
A wrestler. Every soul has a price. I think like when I did my first Angelo soccer shop, which was a pop-up on Notre Dame, my friend Paul from Burgundy Lion was like, what are you up to these days? I'm like, this and that. He goes, well, we have a space. Do you want to take it? Like, I'll hook you up, you know, I'll give you a tent and you do you. And I was like, I appreciated it, you know? And I was like, I thought it was pretty noble of an experience, and it's a beautiful block. And I'm like, I didn't want to make it look like some sidewalk sale with just a bunch of product in boxes and, you know, hangers all like, you know, loose and stuff. I was like, no, let me make an experience out of this.
Indeed.
So let me bring some pieces here that are very valuable to me, to my journey, and let people see them and touch them, and let's talk about them. And if you really want to buy it, well, then we got to negotiate on the spot. And so that's this whole every soul has a price is like, you know, people would pull out like, let's say this Stone Island jersey we had, they'd be like, how much? And I'd be like, you really want to go at this, you know? And so some stuff worked, and then some stuff, I just know some stuff I'll never let kind of go for now, for the moment. So I was like, you know, my price was very high.
You're a collector at heart.
I think maybe some things come to me, but yeah, most of the time.
But you do know what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep.
Yeah,
Though.
yeah.
And you know the value of it too.
Sentimental value
That is
was
true.
always told when I was in the industry. They always told me a good buyer has no sentimental value, and I always believed it was the opposite. A good buyer does have sentimental value to certain products. You know, the moment that you saw this pair of shoes, the what you were going through your life at that moment, or there's many things that go into a product that is well done. You know, I think maybe going back to what you said about exclusivity, no.
And inclusivity.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Like it's exclusive, you know, to have one of my most probably the last thing I'll ever have, and I'll never let this one go, will be a Afghanistan women's national team soccer jersey signed by all the players that were then imprisoned and threatened to be killed once they came back to the country. Like, I can't even believe I have that. Like, I can't believe I have that, you know? And how do you let that go?
I don't think you can.
You don't let that. You don't let that go.
Exactly. What do you think about Messi in MLS now? And what
Wow.
I guess what that is going to do for the culture
Wow.
itself? Huge.
I think our age group and up, it doesn't matter what we think, okay? Because there's a lot of like pros and cons, and everybody has their own belief system. Where I draw the line is what it'll do for the kids, and that's all that matters. And young kids seeing this is like crazy. They will never forget this.
Right.
They'll never forget this, you know? So that's what's important. It's about the children.
You're an extremely passionate person, and but the thing is, like, you have fallen in love with soccer and fall out of love multiple times. And then, you know, football saved my life came about. So tell me the journey of you falling in love, falling out of love, falling in love, when you classify soccer as a way of your life.
Well, yeah, shout outs to Gildas for that one. He kind of did the Football Save My Life series, and again, opened like a vault of memories. And, you know, a lot of us like fall in and out of love with, you know, I know musicians that have done that, or artists, you know, they perhaps maybe you love something so much that you get to a very challenging situation, and if it doesn't go your way, depending on how mature you are about it, you could either blame someone else, you know. Most of the time it's always your fault. But, you know, I guess having the dreams of becoming a professional soccer player and knowing that you lost the opportunities could quickly go in a different direction where you might be angry or resentful, right? And I think I've spoken to a lot of people in my life that have gone through that. And then the romance comes back, you know. I am very romantic. I'm romantic spiritually, with my friends, with everything I do in life. So you might be, you know, you put soccer on pause for a moment, but then something will happen. Something will happen where the romance just comes back. Either you saw something, or somebody said something, or you were in an environment of some sort. What's important is to always remember that experience. So when you feel like you're losing grip on things, to always go back to the romance or that first moment and be like, okay, I got this now, you know?
I'm a little curious. What do you mean by romance in general? Like, what does romance mean to you?
Wow. Romance is everything. Romance is, you know, everything is a relationship. Even the present moment is a relationship, right? And in order to maintain a relationship, there has to be romance to it. You know, whether it's what you do in life, or your family, or your friends, or Some people are obsessed with, their cars or, their automobiles. I don't have that obsession, but I can understand someone that's passionate about something. What kind of life can you really live at 100% at the highest, most radical presence if there is no passion or romance or love? I don't see how.
Would you define romance and passion parallel?
Interesting.
Which kind of means
I've
the
never
same
heard that.
thing, right? Romance and passion?
I think maybe romance is the way you approach it, and I think passion is the way you apply it, perhaps.
Or you keep it?
Or you keep it, or you preserve it, But I'm also, like, we were saying before we started recording, I like going for the long haul. I do like, the marathon of something, There's a goal, but does it really matter if you land it too much? If your journey was the best?
That is true.
Right? And I think that comes with a bit of like wisdom and maturity to some extent,
Honestly, what you said about the idea of marathon is something I can tell other people now because I get it.
And always, I guess, like believe in yourself, believe in your philosophy. It's okay to get inspired. It's okay to have people that you trust. Their advice is priceless, and once you find your angels, like they say, then you stay close to them,
I do want to touch on your new creative agency, Journeyman.
Yeah.
You're going to specialize in retail manufacturing, branding, and marketing solutions. So
that all happened by default, I wasn't really planning to do that, but I was asked, by peers in the industry to do some work for them. So I took it on, and it's been a joy so far. I have a couple of projects coming out soon that I'm excited about. And I guess like when I let's say I really love like poetry, right? So let's say I really love like Rumi or Hafez, like the Persian poets. And so when you just want to know basics about, you go on Wikipedia and you're like, you think it's just a poet, but there's like astrologists, scientists, like ta-da-da. And you're like, wow, they weren't just poets. They did everything. You know? And I was like,
cool.
Yeah, okay, I want to become that. I don't know. Is everybody like that? I have ideas every 5 seconds,
So do I. Sometimes, I mean,
you can't complete your sentence because you're jumping on another one.
And
so,
we just kind of did that right now.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
So why would I stomp my own growth, and my opportunities? So to answer your question about the Journeyman agency, it just happened, and it's a ride.
There's a lot of people I honestly know personally who think that not necessarily that you should focus, because I feel like you should focus at only a few things at a time so you can give that all.
Mm-hmm.
But some people stray away from just trying different things, and I think that's what you're trying to come across, like just try different things and explore yourself.
You have to, because when I was just a kid being creative, like I said, I had no cap, right? I would write stories, poems. I would anytime I would have a device, I would record. I had like record my voice, like have like a pretend radio show, or have a camera. I would make movies when I was, so school for me was, I would work after school. When I'd go home, that's where the real work happened. But if you fast forward, a couple of years later, whenever in the industry of retail, I was like challenged with like new stuff, like websites, blogs, because I was there when blogs happened and Facebook happened. And I was like, okay, I've done a movie before. I've recorded my voice before. I've done when you don't put limits and you try things, eventually you will use some of those skills down the line, right? You might not be the best at them, but where I'm at now is when I have a project and I know I need to do something, either I could do it myself, or I'm like, I could do this, but I won't be as best as I could, but I have a friend that could do this, you know? So it helps you with like delegating your ideas.
And last but not least, because I usually ask people what is the advice they would want to give. I don't want to ask that to people because advice is like too strong. But like, what would you tell someone who cannot be a soccer player, whose dream was to be a soccer player,
wow,
and cannot be one? Because tell you what,
yeah.
I will make a clip of this, send it to my younger brother. His journey is, he's a very introverted person, and he fell in love with soccer when he was very young. And then he basically, I don't know what happened, but his friends were like, let's play basketball. He completely put soccer on the side. Today he regrets it because he's like, I can't play soccer anymore because why would I play it if I cannot go pro? And I'm like, just play it to have fun. He's like, I don't know if I can do that. And that was like, he's also very, he doesn't like a lot of things. The only thing he likes is soccer. And he's like, if I can't go pro in this, then I don't know. So lately he's just been sitting at home and just, I don't know what he's been doing.
I could relate to that because I've been there.
Yeah.
At that age, it's very hard to hear anything else but what you actually want to hear.
He's 18, by the way, now.
Still young, right?
He's graduated high school.
And what is he? Does he know what he wants to become?
No. Like...
it's soccer or nothing?
Well, in his head, but dad is like, get into engineering. And he's like, okay, fine.
Hey, this is a tough one, man.
It is.
It depends of the character and the resilience, you know, the tenacity of like trying to strive for something. You know, maybe, I don't know if I would know what to say to an 18-year-old at this point, but I also like to, action speaks louder than words, you know, and if ringleaders example is something that can inspire someone like your little brother to be like, I didn't know soccer could be fun, you know?
Indeed.
And it could be, you could have an amazing life if you love soccer. Seriously. But you have to love it for the right reasons. You really have to love it for the right reasons. And sometimes tough love, you know, like it, you know, you gotta suffer before you get to the point where you understand it for real, you know?
Yeah.
But I got a story, maybe on topic, off topic. I don't know. You decide.
Go for it.
But
I mean, this is your place.
I used to like, and maybe you read this, but I used to like, you know, when I loved soccer playing, but I guess I lived esports before esports, right?
Yeah.
Because
FIFA.
of just the systems and how life was. But once I played, you know, soccer on Sega Genesis or whatever it was, I was like, wow. I was like, what? And a couple of years later, you were able to like customize yourself in the game. Just put your name and have your own player, you know? And that blew my mind. I was like, I couldn't believe I could see my name on a screen and I'm playing with this thing, you know? And at the time, I was seriously, you know, playing soccer, AAA, Quebec team, whatever. I had a friend, neighborhood friend. We were on the same club, Olivier Océan. That was his name. And we used to play together. And the bet was, we had a bet, like a $5 bet, you know, who's going to make it pro first, right? And so he obviously made it. God bless him. He made it.
Wow, good for him.
He made, he played in Norway. He played in Germany. He played Champions League. He played like for Canada.
Go.
Yeah, he went all the way, right? And I'm still holding on to this bet though. Because I'm like, okay, I didn't technically make it, but recently we had like fun project with Ringleaders. So Ringleaders is going to be in the new EAFC, right? So
that's what it's called now?
EAFC, that's right.
It's coming in September?
September 29th.
Are you getting it?
Oh yeah, I'm getting it.
Hell yeah.
And RFC is going to be in it. We have like Frostbite Cup is going to be in the game. We're going to have our uniform and stuff.
Way.
Yeah, man. So going back to my bet with Olivier, right? My $5 bet. I didn't kind of made it, but I kind of, you know what I mean? Like I I'm just like, you go from like being just a kid playing a video game, but I'm feeling something.
100%.
I'm feeling something, right? And going back to the marathon, it took me a long way to get there, but the joy right now of like landing in this video game that you love so much, and your club is in it, your brand is in it.
That's insane.
I'm just like, it's a dream right now, right? So yeah, man, look out for that.
Wow. Do you play PES, by the way?
I do.
You do play PES?
I love PES. Yeah.
Yeah, you love PES?
I
Why?
love PES. The gameplay.
How different do you think it's compared to FIFA? It's so slow. It's like sluggish.
What system have you played it on? Xbox? Try PlayStation.
Gotcha.
The game is built more around the ball.
See, only a person like you can tell that
Yeah.
difference, right?
Yeah.
That comes with passion.
Yeah. But it's like, I think you need both. You need EA and PES, or they call it eFootball now. So EAFC and eFootball, you need both in life, It's just one of those, there's many examples in life, there's from religions to businesses, you need the best of both worlds, right? And I guess that competition keeps the level up. So that's it, man. Like, how do we do? We did good. We're happy.
We did
all your questions in.
Yeah, okay. For sure. Sweet. Yeah, no, we'll end the conversation to here. There. Thank you. I learned a lot. I promise. I hope you had a good time.
I had a good time.